Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Oh yeah. How's that sound? Nice and loud. What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Critical Failure. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. My goodness, this is being recorded at 8:07 p.m. on Friday night. It's Friday night. Oh my gosh. Couldn't have come fast enough. But then again, isn't that just always the way? Got some awesome video games for you. Also featuring the music of Discoteca and Bloodwave. We'll see. I got these handful of tracks that have been sitting on my desk to be played here on TCR, and they've been sitting there for weeks and weeks and weeks now. And every week it's like, all right, we got this new awesome release that I really want to cover. So it's kind of slowed down since the latest Chiptunes Equals Win release. There was a bunch of releases that week, but now that it's slowed down a little bit, we're gonna play these awesome vaporwave tracks. And honestly, I couldn't be happier about a slow music week. All that and more coming up on Tiger Claw Radio. This first track is Discoteca. I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the song. Devyaka. It's something. It's a free album. You're listening. Oh man, I botched that hard, but you know what? We're gonna go with it anyway. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio, everybody. Bear with me. Here it comes. Here's the last bit. Oh yeah. So stupid. You know, there's not much to that track. It's really simple. Yes, it's really repetitive. It's just the doo-doo-doo. But you know what? Simple is okay. Not everything has to be super, super complicated. Once in a while, I find these like super simple tracks, and they're simple, but the few notes that are there, they just hit the mark just right. And that's that track, in my opinion. And part of the thing that makes it work is the fact that it's so short. The running time is a meager, I don't know, a minute and a half, minute 45 seconds, something like that. I had it up on the screen a minute ago while it was running, but now it's gone. All right, boys and girls, let's talk about some video games. Over on GOG.com, we've got a big spring sale going on. A couple of my wish-listed games are on sale, and you know what? To be honest, I haven't come in here and checked it out. But let's see. Oh, you know what I should do while I'm here? I should pop open the client and make sure I don't get any free games from Steam. A few of the wish-listed titles that I want to get that are on sale is Army Men World War. That one didn't make it to Steam this past year when they released 4 Army Men games on Steam. That one was not among them. So that's now $3, $2.99. Yeah, Wizards and Warriors is $4.79, which I might actually get that. What else we got? Nope, my screen went blank. Okay, now we're back. Medal of Honor Allied Assault War Chest is $2.50. The original Rainbow Six is $3.39. Oh my gosh, the original Rainbow Six. You know what's funny? I remember when that game came out, and my older brother trying to explain to me why Rainbow Six was such a big deal. And I was, this sounds great. Squad-based? Awesome. Yeah, I'm on board. But I never got around to playing it, I don't think. I did play a game called Rogue Spear, which was Rainbow Six 2. And I loved that game. That game was really good. But I never got around to playing the first game. So the second game that I did play, Rogue Spear, that's one of these games that kind of disappeared in the CD era. I don't think you can get that game anywhere. I think even if you have the CD, I don't know if it'll work on any modern machines if you try and install it. I have it here, but I haven't tried to install it in many, many years. So Rainbow Six, I kind of want to play it, but at the same time, if I bought Rainbow Six and I installed it, it's so clearly the kind of thing where I would play it one time and that'd be it. So I can't really justify $3.40. Let's see if anything else. I got some games on my list for sale that I don't remember putting on here. Anvil of Dawn. I don't even know what that is, but that's $1.49. This is one of these nights where I was just sitting on the computer, just looking around at stuff. Anvil of Dawn. This looks like a dungeon crawler. Yep. Released October 31st, 1995. A tough but accessible to new players classic RPG with a fast world to explore. Features a learn by doing skill system without the need to collect and grind for experience points. Customize your character as you see fit. There's plenty of character stats to fine-tune to your liking. This looks really good. Anvil of Dawn. Alright. I'm game. I'll leave that tab open. And of course we got Wizards and Warriors. Not the NES game. The game created by... oh, heck. I know somewhere Sean is screaming into his iPod because I don't know the answer. Somebody who worked on either the Might and Magic games or the Wizardry games. Oh, wow. The Might and Magic 6-pack. Might and Magic 1 through 6 is $2.50. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's another thing. There's good deals on games that I've bought already. That I probably got for more money. But that's what's going on over at GOG.com. This is one of those things where GOG has a sale on these games and Steam doesn't. So, you know, my interest in Steam being the one and only platform I play games on is waning pretty quickly. So I'm becoming more open to these sales from other platforms. So this is pretty cool. Just something to check out. In other news, there is a new Out of the Park baseball game that just came out, and I have not had the chance to touch it yet. Just came out today. I'm going to look it up in the Steam store and see what we got. All right, this is Out of the Park Baseball 20. Now, I remember from the press email that this is the first iteration of Out of the Park Baseball that's going to have year-long live support. So that's pretty sweet. Live services. Start a new MLB game any day during the regular season with up-to-date rosters, standings, stats, and player ratings. That's pretty sweet. I always play custom games, but that's a big jump, which is pretty sweet. This the baseball series does an awesome job of making the games new every year. So I'm looking forward to checking this all out. Oh yeah. Yeah, here we go. We spent a lot of time in the motion capture studio to create hundreds of new animations which take the 3D in-game action to a whole new level. Diving plays, shoestring catches, hitters celebrating a walk-off in style. It's all there. Just a couple of years ago, there were little tiny pegs to represent the 3D action. And the year before that, it was just, sprites of team emblems sliding around on a stadium. So they've done a really good job making that game look new every year. So this is really cool. Looking forward to Out of the Park Baseball 20. Probably check that out tonight as soon as I'm done recording. All right, and that said, let's go back to Monday. All right, this is the part of the show where we do a little time travel. So when I drive to work, one of the things I like to do is I do a little recording, talk about some games, talk about whatever happened the previous weekend. And one of the reasons I do this is because I know a lot of this stuff, it's not going to stick in my mind through the course of the week, so I have to get it out when it's fresh. So we're going to do that now. This is the Vancast. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Morning, everybody. It's the Vancast. It is Monday. It's a nice frosty 40-something degrees. 6:20 in the morning. It's dark outside. Oh, yes. Time to start the week. Been a crazy weekend. Crazy weekend. I've been busy with the kids. They've been a lot of screaming, a lot of pulling. Kind of glad to be going back to the office. I'm not going to lie. This is something I think that only a father would think. And that's, thank goodness it's Monday. Holy crap. Time to go back to the office, start working so I can get some peace and quiet. Oh man, I love my kids though. We had a good weekend. Let's see. I dropped my new chiptune album, Laguna Seca. It's available for free. I was able to release that last night, and I totally forgot to put up TCR this morning because I was looking at numbers on the album. I completely forgot. It's Monday. I was supposed to put up TCR. Oh, gosh. All right. I'm falling apart, man. That's all right. I'll get it up tomorrow. So it'll be up Tuesday morning. It's not so bad. Tuesday morning, or I can get it up when I get home from work today. So it'll be up Monday afternoon at probably about 4:30 Eastern time. That's not too bad. There's worse derps in the world. Yeah, so I wanted to touch on the chiptune album just a little bit. I released the album on Bandcamp, which is pretty cool because it was my first chiptune album, or chiptune release really, in 9 years. The last one was called Awesome Jeff, and it came out in 2010. And this, so I started making the rounds. I posted a little video trailer for it, and I put up something on Reddit. And all right, so here's what I'm getting at. Last time I released an album, we had the 8-Bit Collective. That was a website that was still around. The 8-Bit Collective had a release board where anybody could go and post their releases. That site has since closed down. I don't really have a site like that now. So that was me as an unknown dropping an album, and it got downloaded probably like 50 times. And I think it was 6 people grabbed the album since yesterday afternoon. So, that tells me I got to figure out where people would post an announcement like this. Where can I say, hey guys, I made an album. Check it out. Do you feel like downloading it? Hey man, you should. So that was my evening last night. As for games over the weekend, the last thing I remember playing was finishing Kane and Lynch 2 with Alex Swengel. We're going to talk about that and other stuff here in a second, but I'm pulling up to the grocery store. All right, one moment, please. All right, just got out of the grocery store. Got some hot tea, ready for the week. So what was I talking about? Yeah, I talked about Kane and Lynch 2 last week, so I don't feel too much the need to go over that. But I did get to play Torchlight 2 with Hemrock a little bit, which was fun. We had some weird desync issues where monsters would show up on my end that weren't fighting back, and they were just standing still, and I could just get my weapons and clobber them, and they would die, and they'd even drop loot and everything. And Hemrock was like, I see you slashing thin air. There's nobody there. You're not fighting anybody. So I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but that was going on in Torchlight 2 when we played last night. It's a fun game. And we've had a few sessions now without any sort of problems. So that's a new thing. So yeah, and that's probably, I think, the only real video games I get to play for myself. I know the kids played some Terraria. Every weekend the kids want to play Terraria. They have LAN parties that they need help getting set up. So that's a big thing we did. I would set up my laptop and my desktop, and my kids would play Terraria together, and I would just hang out in the room and fool with the synthesizer while they play. And the three of us would just kind of hang out together. That was good times. Man, I've been so wrapped up in this album, getting this album done, that it feels good to be between big projects. I have 2 weeks at this point to finish the Tiger Score for the next month. I committed to doing 5 issues of the Tiger Score, my one-page print and play high score magazine. I've done 2 so far, so now it's time to do the third one. And I've got a few scores. I sat down with a few games and I've kicked around a few ideas, but now it's time to start drafting and getting things together. So if you haven't got it yet, go grab issue 2 of the Tiger Score, play some games, let me know how it went. The big ones, last issue, Solar Striker was the game everybody seemed to lock on. I had a couple submissions for 1942 as well, which were really cool. So if you're still interested in getting your name and your score into Tiger Score 3, make sure you email me. Let me know how it went. As far as distribution of the magazine, I still don't quite know how the best way to do that. I'm just uploading the doc and the PDF onto mega.nz, and then I also email it to everybody I can think of who would be interested when it comes to release date. So that's the Tiger Score. I have a feeling once I complete the 5-issue pilot run, that's probably going to be it. We'll see. I think it's a unique idea, but I also think it's not powerful enough to sustain more issues than that. I think by the time 5 issues comes and goes, I think the interest will have died, and at that point I won't be seeing any more submissions. You know, the 5th issue is probably just going to be me playing games just by myself, my name showing up on a bunch of lists. You know, hey, here's the top 5 scores that I did on this particular game. You know, and that's fine. That's fine. That's the nature of these types of things. Projects come and go. So that's what I'm working on right now. So I usually like to end these things by asking the question, what would I do if I were back in the studio, just me, right? I didn't have to go to work, and I could take the day off and just play games. You know, my head's so scrambled right now. I think just because it's 6:30 in the morning on Monday, I'm not sure. But I'll tell you this much. I cleaned up my office Sunday night. Got it all picked up, you know, got my desk looking good, vacuumed the floor, got everything in good shape. So now that it's looking good, I think I'd like to fire up my consoles, sit on the carpet and play games on my TV. I don't get to do that much. It's something I find myself talking about here on the Vancast quite a lot. But when I'm actually in my office, I don't find myself doing it much. Probably play some of the games I got from the Retro Junk Box. I thought I did okay. I pulled a bunch of stuff out. more than I think everyone else, but I put in enough stuff. I put in, stuff equal to what I took out, so I felt like it was okay. And Sendu made the comment, "You took out almost everything I put in. I knew this would happen." So then I felt bad, like I messed up. Oh well. I don't know. I guess I did okay. The only game I can think of right now, trying to think of a specific game, is the Need for Speed for the Sega Saturn. And I didn't even really think that game was that great, but it was a racing game from another era. And it's probably the most approachable Sega Saturn game I have, next to maybe Virtua Fighter 2. Because the Sega Saturn games I have are like, I've got Myst, and the Saturn version of Myst is good, but it loads between each slide, so it takes a lot longer to play than the PC version. I've got that. I've got like a really complex helicopter game. And then Virtua Fighter, and then this racing game. So I'd probably fire up the Sega Saturn, because I think that'd be fun. And with that, let's see, how we doing? 10 minutes in? I think I'm going to send you guys back to the studio, because I can barely keep a thought in my head, and I'm worried this is a rambly sort of vancast. Whereas I usually like to keep these things, all right, bullet point A, B, C, D. Okay. You're going back to the one place I really wish I could be. You lucky dogs. I'll see you there. All right, we're back in the studio. We're going to play another one from Discoteca. You guys are listening to Tiger Club Radio. Hey, it's another one under the 2-minute mark. Ends a little abruptly, but I really dig it. By the way, I hope you guys were able to catch the TCR chiptune review. I still call it a chiptune review, even though I'm playing a lot of vaporwave and synthwave these days. But all the tracks that get played here, they go into a special that comes out every once in a while. And just recently, I did the most recent one. So that's got a lot of awesome chiptunes, a lot of awesome vaporwave and stuff. And these tracks will definitely be on the next one, and that's available to Patreon subscribers. And while we're on the subject, this is a Patreon-sponsored show, so I just want to give a little love to the people who are giving of their resources to make sure Tiger Claw Radio comes back every week. So what I like to do is I as soon as I complete the episode, recording the episode, I put it up for them. So that's usually Friday night, sometimes Saturday. This is being recorded on Friday night, so this is going to go up for the Patreon subscribers very soon. And I also like to read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen, and they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Techbo Balls, and Darabka. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the shoestring that is keeping Tiger Claw Radio together, and you're making a huge difference. Oh, yeah. Just a reminder, the new album is out. I put out under the name Green Leo. It's a chiptune album made entirely in FamiTracker. It's called Laguna Seca, and it took me probably about 6 months or however long it was to make, and I'm pretty proud of it. I got it up on Bandcamp for free to download, and I've already gotten hard at work on the next project. So that's 11 tracks, and it runs about 20 minutes. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm actually looking at doing potentially a limited cassette release, just because I love cassettes and I want to produce one that has me on it. Not that I think it'll, it's gonna make some money, boys and girls. No, I'll probably order some parts, probably produce like 10 of these things, sell them at a loss, just to produce one and get it out there. We'll see how it goes. But that's Green Leo. That's what's going on. Let's see. I got one of these Volca keys synthesizers, and I wanted to play a clip of a jam session that I did, just so you gotta get an ear for what my experimentation sounds like right now. So what you're listening to is a Pocket Operator arcade synced up with a Korg Volca keys. They're two different sequencers, right? And they're being run in tandem with each other. So this was like just seeing what they could do at 5 in the morning before I left for work. You know, I hear this and it needs a little bit more of a backbone behind the sound, in my opinion. It needs like some sort of something's got to play bass. There's no bass in this track, so here's another one for you. I wanted to do some experimentation with lo-fi hip hop, and so I went out in the pouring rain and I wanted to capture the rain on my phone. I wanted an MP3 or an audio file of rain that I owned the rights to, that I could use in a song. So I experimented with some stuff, and this is what I came up with. Take a listen. So I think this sounds really good, but what I did was I left my cell phone outside on the porch, so it wasn't getting rained on, but it was out, so it could pick up the sound more or less unfiltered. So I left my phone there. I went to the restroom, to do what you do in there, and then I came back, and listening to the recording, this is what I found.
Surprise, surprise. Hi, Dad.
Yeah, so that's on my recording that for use to sample the sound of the rain. So I'm plotting my revenge on using that sample in a track somehow. Well, all right. With all that behind us, I've got one more Vancast from this morning, actually, and after that, we'll read some comments. And I don't know what we'll get into after that. I think I might have another track to play, since the tracks have been so small this week. But let's do the Vancast. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Morning, everybody. It's the Vancast. It is 6:23 on Friday. It rained last night quite a bit. Actually, in fact, it rained all day yesterday. All day and all evening. Off to go to work. I got one more day at the office, and then I got the weekend, which is pretty sweet. Last night, I was poking around on the internet on Reddit, and I found there was a post of I believe it was 1980, the championship tournament for Space Invaders, and it was the first major, according to the caption, it was the first major video game tournament in America, which was pretty sweet. So what struck me about this photograph was that A lot of bowl cuts, 1980s. But they were playing on Atari 2600s. So that was where the first championship of Space Invaders, the first major video game championship, or what it was played on. I had been told through Atari Age, the consensus was that this was like an inferior port of Space Invaders. But it was also, it's just interesting to see that that's what they used. I guess in those days, hardware was a huge issue. Or I guess it still would be today. It would be cheaper to put on, we're going to lay out 100 different Ataris with televisions. And that's cheaper than getting 100 different stand-up cabinets. So I don't know. It was fascinating to me. It was fascinating to me, and it made me want to get that game out again. I did get to play Atari a little bit this week for the first time in a long time, but it was these tiny little short sessions that got me hooked when my son was just born. At one point, I put in the slot machine cartridge that I got at MagFest this past year. Slot machine for the Atari 2600. And I put it in, and I could see the slot machine, and I would hit reset on the console, and I could see that it would give me credits, and I couldn't figure out how to pull the old lever and get it started. So I essentially fired up the Atari, kind of looked at the title screen, pushed a few buttons, and that was it. I had to shut it down. It was cool to fire up the Atari again, though, man. That was it. That was the go-to console for quick games. I still think it excels at that. So, but one thing I got to do is get out Space Invaders. I got a lot more Atari carts now than I used to have. I used to have this little pile. If you look at I did like an Atari collection video several years back, and I don't know how many games I had. Probably like 20 or 25 tops. It was a pile enough for me to go through. If I was going to sit down and play games on the Atari, I probably wouldn't play them all. I'd probably go through about half of them. My Atari collection has doubled since then. And sometimes when I go through the games now, it feels ominous, like there's too many. I have a harder time settling on a game. It's weird how that works. When you have too many games, it can be hard to find one to play. I have that problem on Steam. That's actually, among Steam users, that's like a meme at this point. There's too many games. Too many games, but none to play. So yeah, I run into that problem on occasion with Atari. But it was fun to play it last night. It was a good time. My Atari doesn't get nearly as much love as it should. I'll tell you what, though, man. It was one of my favorite in terms of video games. Setting aside music, it was one of my favorite parts of MagFest this past year. Was playing Breakout with a working paddle over and over and over again, and just taking screenshot after screenshot with my phone of whatever high score I could get a hold of. I gotta shell out the money and get a paddle, man. They're not that expensive. It's like $20, $30, something like that. Fine, I'll pay it. You know what I want to play on the Atari? Circus Atari. You know that game? It's this game where you have like a seesaw at the bottom. It's supposed to be like a trapeze or something. And one little dot hits one side of the seesaw and makes the other person shoot up in the air. The other little dot shoot up in the air. Been watching a lot of Bithead 1000 lately. And Circus Atari was like one of his first reviews back when he first started his channel. He used to do these reviews where it was like, how many quarters out of 10 quarters does this game earn? Those were in the days when he just got out of jail and didn't have any video games at all, so we had to collect them one at a time. Now he's got a $10,000 TurboGrafx 16/PC Engine shooter collection. Yikes. That kills me about Bithead 1000. This guy went from being like, we're starting from nothing. We got no games, everybody. Hey, look, I found an AC adapter for a console that I don't have yet. He went from those humble beginnings to the PC Engine museum that he has now, which is pretty sweet. So good for him. Good for him, man. I'm in the process of paring down just a little bit. I was walking to my office last night. Ooh. Somebody just had their brights on, blasted me in the face. Mostly my PS2 games and my like Xbox 360 games and stuff like that. The games that like don't have a ton of value. I have these games that I just got, like maybe played once or twice, and now I'm ready to let them go. I have to actually do that. I have to actually let them go to get more shelf space. I'm not. My game room isn't going to be getting any bigger. There's a baby coming. If anything, all my space is going to get smaller. I got to start paring down. What is that shaking? I don't know if that's coming through. Some kind of shaking. It sounds like something's rattling. Man, I can't figure out what it is. It's bothering me. Well, I guess we'll start to push this to a close. Well, if I was back home, what would I be playing? What would I be doing? That's usually how I like to close things up. I'd probably get down there and turn the Atari back on. I got a stack of Atari games at MagFest this past year, and I only played like half of them. One of those games is a game called Infiltrate, which I thought looked cool. The label looked cool. I see it around on eBay a lot. Never quite pulled the trigger on it. Well, hey man, it showed up. It showed up in a cardboard box for a few dollars. So I picked it up, brought it home, I put it on the shelf. One day I picked it up off the shelf, took a look at it. I was like, you know what? It's time to play Infiltrate. I'm going to play this game that I see all over eBay, all over everywhere. It might be bad, but I'm going to play it and find out. So I put it in the machine, turn on the Atari, and it starts running, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, okay, this looks cool. Let's give it a shot. And then immediately, as soon as I picked up the controller, something happened and I got called away. Like, I had to immediately turn it back off. So I'm in this weird position where it's like I got to see it, but I didn't get to play it. Not even for a second. And what's amazing was, this was like over a month ago. I don't even really remember what it looked like because I only saw it for like a few seconds. So I want to try Infiltrate on the Atari 2600. I think that would be what I would play if I could go back right now. And with that, boys and girls, it's Friday. I'm going to shoot you guys back to the studio. I'll see you there. I really forgot how much I wanted to play Space Invaders this morning, but I couldn't. And I was listening to that just now, and it's like, I can hear it. I just wanted to go play Space Invaders. What are you going to do? All right, we got one more track. This is Bloodwave playing New Visuals. No, the album is New Visuals. The song is Virtual Lone Line. It's Bloodwave, all right, on Tiger Claw Radio. These guys on their weird names for the songs, I'll tell you, man. right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's time for the, wow, I drew a blank. I don't know what time it is. What time is it? It's time for the fail bag. Yes, there we go. Fail bag. Questions, comments. I want to be as approachable as possible. Let's take advantage of the fact that it's a small show, small operation. And anything you got to say, you can leave it in the YouTube comments or anywhere else, and I'll read it, and we can have a good back and forth going. Now, a lot of times I can get a lot of good material off of the comments. I like reading your questions and whatnot, hearing about what games you've been playing. So last week we talked about what turns people off to podcasts. Let's just get that off here. Give me a second. What turns people off to podcasts? And I read some stuff off of Reddit. And a lot of the stuff that people didn't like are things I do on a regular basis. So it was a little bit jarring to me. So I asked you guys the question, and we'll see what happens. Death Adder writes, I mean, it's easy to get burned out on anybody at some point. No one can be interesting all the time. Also, a podcast having a lame guest is just a fact of podcast life. But as long as I can relate to the host on some level and the show revolves around one of my interests, I can listen to almost any podcast for a while. I mean, I hate listened to every episode of All Gen Gamers, so I feel like I can listen to almost any podcast after that. Please, Happy Console Gamer, tell us about the time you won Coolest Dude on the Planet Award in 1981. Alright, I'm going to take a quick break from the comment here, just so I can respond to that. Death Adder, interestingly enough, I didn't know this until he was already done, but David Letterman, when he would do his I guess I did know this, but when he would do his monologues, a lot of the time, if he liked a joke, he would reuse it. And he like a couple nights in a row, you'd hear the same joke in the monologue. And the reason he did that was because he knew nobody was going to watch, his hour late night show 5 days a week. The audience recycles a little bit, and that's the way podcasting is, in my opinion. If you're doing a show weekly, that's tough to keep up with. As a listener, my favorite shows. I have a hard time listening to every week, but I don't know. Let's get back to the comment. Death Adder continues. He says, funny thing is, I've disliked Joe Rogan for years, but he always pops up on my YouTube feed, and I end up clicking on them. I almost kind of like him now. I've never even once injected Alpha Brain into my ball sack. Rogan is kind of a coward, though. Like, he calls professional wrestling fans idiots, then gets a wrestler on his show and is down on both knees with his mouth gaping open. Stuff like that makes him seem less credible. Pat the NES Punk and Ian, I've seen clips of their show on YouTube as well. Both always seem to approach every topic with a chip on their shoulder. Two very unlikable people, in my opinion. 0 out of 10 would not grab a beer with. Yeah, alright, quick break. This is me responding now. Yeah, Rogan I'm lukewarm about. He's got some awesome stuff and some not so awesome stuff. I think I went over him last week. Last week I went over Joe Rogan. Pat the NES Punk. Look, here's the thing. I say this a lot, but I want people to understand that time is the most valuable currency. So I don't understand why people wouldn't value the time that's being spent on them. You know what I mean? If you're running a popular podcast, like say 1,000 people listen to your hour podcast all the way through, that's 1,000 man hours that just got spent hanging out in your video game lair talking about games or whatever. So I feel like I listen to Pat, and he's not a dumb guy. He knows a lot of cool stuff, but it's like, come on, dude, you got to bump up the niceness just a little bit, just a tiny bit. That's that's my takeaway from the little bit I heard of him, and that the few like clips I've heard. That's not to say anything about his spicy hot take on the whole Diablo reveal. You remember when Diablo 3 turned out to be a mobile game and everyone was all upset, and he was like, "You babies, you should be happy about it being a mobile game." That was weird. setting that whole thing aside, because I feel like you're allowed to disagree with people. That's another thing. It's one of these things where it's like, you can't, if you disagree with me, then you must be inferior. No, that's not how it should be. Anybody who's like that, who takes that attitude, 0 out of 10, can't grab a beer with or whatever, or grab a cup of hot tea with in my case. All right, back to the comment. He says, semi-interesting podcast story. There was one small podcast I was lucky enough to accidentally discover around 2015 called The Dave and Richie Show. They basically just BS'd and made offensive comments about news articles. It was up there with Mondo Coolcast in its prime, if not better as far as entertainment value goes. There was some sort of falling out with one of the guys, and he deleted every episode off the internet just to be a D-bag to the other guy. It was like having your favorite TV show canceled and it never showing up again on Netflix or DVD. As far as TCR goes, you and your show are great. My only complaint is with it being a weekly podcast, a few episodes can fall through the cracks, but you pull off the weekly episodes and it's clearly a hobby you enjoy, so it's all gravy. Thanks very much, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I some weeks I feel like it's on, and some weeks I feel like it's off. Some weeks I feel like the van casts are really weak, but then we got something happening here in the studio. Sometimes I feel like the only worthwhile thing is the music, so I'll just play a bunch of, go heavy on the music in those particular weeks. I wish I had an effective way to communicate to the people who are really in the know what kind of episode it would be, but that's something I haven't figured out. So yeah, the Dave and Richie Show. That's unfortunate that it is gone. That really sucks, man. Maybe we'll have to do like Alex Swingle, and when we listen to podcasts we enjoy, we'll just I'm gonna keep it forever. I'll just spend we'll spend $50, get an external hard drive that you can hook up to whatever device you're using, and that'll just be the your vault of awesome YouTube videos and podcasts and stuff. And then you can dive into your podcasts just like Scrooge McDuck diving into his big tube of money, or whatever unsanitary behavior he would engage in. So awesome comment. Thanks, Death Adder. It's good to hear from you, brother. Jerry Terrifying. I always get excited when I hear from Jerry Terrifying, because we used to talk on the internet like every night nearly a decade ago. And now he comes out of the woodwork once in a while just to let me know what's up. And he writes, I beat Diablo on the PSX with my woman. It was pretty cool. That's cool, man. That's really cool. I enjoyed the PSX version very much. My older brother had it. Oh, yeah, you hear that? That's the sound of me breaking the rules. Desm 101 writes, to be honest, I'm not much of a podcast guy in general. The other videos that are podcasts-like, which I enjoy, are Retro RGB, who covers a bunch of retro gaming tech stories, and CGQ, who does some cool streams that are different from his main channel. My wife listens to a lot, and one she showed me that is called what did I do? Sorry. My wife listens to a lot, and one she showed me is that is called The Rewatchables. I love the mailbag segments in your podcast. And I like to start off a weekday morning with your podcast. I dig the positive, laid-back attitude and your passion for gaming. I'm really not good at giving constructive criticism. I think your audio quality is good, and the range of topics is lighthearted and generally refreshing compared to many other current topics. Thanks, man. That's so nice. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Try and keep it positive, which can be difficult. When you get on the internet, it seems like everybody's at each other's throats. People are upset about politics. People who are doing things that have nothing to do with politics get upset at each other over politics. It's like, hey, I've got this channel that's all about chess and how much I love chess, and we make videos of chess in the park. And then one day, while you're watching your chess videos on your chess channel, they start talking about the vice presidential election or vice presidential debate for the presidential election on that election cycle. And it's like, why? Why are you talking about senators and stuff like that? Stop it. I just wanted to watch chess in the park. And that's what goes on a lot on the internet. So I try and keep it light. You guys got politics all figured out. You're big boys and girls. I trust you. It's okay. It really is. So I appreciate it, man. Mecha Menace writes, let's see, I want to expand this out here. A lot of dead air between conversation kills podcasts. I wonder how these people are even good together off air. Another thing that is like knives in my ears is humble bragging, especially, oh my God, I just got finished doing a bunch of that. I'm a piece of crap. Woo! Give me a second, Mecha Menace. I just have to recover from that. So, like 2 seconds ago when I got the compliments and I was feeling good. Woo! Now I got to check myself real quick. All right, back to reality. Another thing that's like knives to my ears is humble bragging, especially when there's a guest being interviewed. Yeah, okay, I get that. Maybe this is the host's way of trying to connect with the guests in the hope that they... Well, what do I get? Hang on. Phone's ringing. It's, phone's ringing. Oh my gosh. All right, we're good. I think we lived. My gosh, where was I? Maybe this is the host's way of trying to connect with the guest and hope they might find them interesting, but again, it doesn't normally promote healthy conversation. I notice most guests just shrug it off awkwardly and wait till the host stops the conversation, then starts a new topic. So more than mouth sounds, overmodulated audio with severe explosives really irritates me. That said, I apologize for my headset mic. I appeared on Mondo Coolcast. I have a better mic now. A setup like yours, CF, would be a lot better. Let's talk about podcast pluses. I like the community. I like it when it is easy to communicate with the host and listeners through a podcast, whether through the reader mail or an associated thread. This may only be possible when a podcast has a relatively small audience. Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. I remember this was... I don't know if you were around when a bunch of us used to listen to Gooch and the Douchebag. That was like around 2010 or so, 2009, 2010. But that's the way their show was as well. They had a huge mailbag segment, and they read every single letter and comment and however weird it was. They read everything on the air, even if it took them an hour. And a lot of the people that I talked to throughout the 2010s were guys that I met in that during that time through that mailbag segment. The fact that I call my mailbag segment the fail bag was an idea that they kicked around on the air and then discarded on the first couple episodes of their show. So it was a small podcast with a community around it, and that really stuck. So yeah, that's a really valuable part of listening to a podcast. It's something I miss out on a lot because when a lot of the shows that I listen to tend to be bigger shows. Like I listen to Gilbert Gottfried and stuff like that. And the reason why is because I had a hard time early on with small podcasts, getting involved with them, and then them shutting down. I had a difficult time with that. I mean, listen to Death Adder's story from earlier on in the show. He talks about, what was the name of the show? The Dave and Richie show that he was into, and they just, everything just up and disappeared one day. So when podcasts close down, I have a difficult time with it. One of the first podcasts I ever listened to, not the first, but one of the first, was called the Radio Ninty Show. Ninty being like the British nickname for Nintendo. This was when the Wii was like a brand new thing. And I would listen to these British guys just talk about how awesome the Wii was and just be super excited about the new technology. It was really cool, man. But they closed down. They became one of these shows that They had an episode every 3 months for a little while at some unpredictable rate, and then just one day they just disappeared. And then it was 5 years since their last episode, then it was 10 years. And now, good luck finding Radio Ninty anywhere. There's not even a record that they existed. And that kind of thing happens quite a bit. I mean, Gooch and the Douchebag's gone. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I listen to the bigger shows because I feel like they're more likely to be around for a while. You know. Also, I listen to Adam Carolla on occasion. Not so much anymore, but when I was a kid, I was like 10 years old, maybe 11, when I got my Walkman. I used to listen to Love Line with Adam and Drew in the mid-90s, in the middle of the night with my Walkman. So Adam Carolla I've been listening to for many, many years. Many years. So that would be the reason I listen to. But you know, my only complaint about Adam Carolla's show is I'm starting to feel like he does so many of those. You kind of heard one, you heard them all. I don't know. He started getting guests on that was like, oh, I work in some, you know, health clinic where we perform enemas. Okay, that's great. All right. That's wonderful. Good job, Adam. So I don't think he necessarily got bad. I think I just got tired of it at some point, which is something that happens. That's a danger you face when you do a podcast a day for years. All right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. Thanks for listening. I appreciate all the time you guys spend here. Time is a valuable, precious, precious commodity. And the older I get, the more I know that's true. So as you move forward towards your week, you're going to face problems. You're going to face difficulties. Hey, you might even be bored. Who knows? Do people still get bored anymore? Is that still a thing? I don't know. Probably not. But whatever happens, I want you to know I'm rooting for you. And I'm wishing you the very best. And that couldn't be more honest. Because I really do. Thanks for spending some time hanging out. And I'll see you guys next week.